Fintech Chatter, the conversations fintech leaders actually listen to, presented by Tier 1 People, Executive Search for Fintech.
Hello and welcome to Fintech Chatter, the show where I connect with fintech leaders to talk about their secrets to success. I'm your host, Dexter Cousins, and in today's show, I've got three very special guests. I'm joined by friends of the show, Constantinople, but they've also brought along one of their customers, Mike Currie, who's the CEO of the Move Bank. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining me today.
Excellent. Great to see you.
Good to be here.
Mike, your debut, so welcome.
Thanks.
I promise I won't bite. But for those of us and the listeners and watchers that we've got, Mike, that might not know about Move Bank, could you tell us a little bit more about the business and your role as CEO?
Yeah, certainly, Dexter. So Move Bank started life in 1968. We're a Queensland-based customer-owned bank, formerly known as Railways Credit Union. So it started in 1968 by Queensland Rail employees for their families and has grown since then to be 25,000 customers strong with assets of $1.2 billion. We rebranded to Move Bank about 10 or 12 years ago and now have a national presence banking everyone that needs our good service.
So talk me through Constantinople Day and how the partnership with Move Bank came about.
Yeah, I think for us, in meeting a bank like Move, who really had a purpose of who they wanted to be and being able to serve their members and customers over the long term was what we were looking for. I mean, we're looking for a long-term partnership and we really want to enable our bank clients to be able to grow and meet the evolution or the evolving needs of customers in this market. And so Mike came forward, or the team came forward with a real view of partnership. We want to create an amazing member experience, and we tick the boxes to be able to do that.
So, Mac, last time you were on the show, we talked about Constantinople as being the operating system for a bank. I've got to be honest, I walked away and I thought, I'm not entirely sure what that means. Then I met with Mike last night and heard about what you're doing with Move Bank, and everything made sense. So can you talk through, I guess, with this real example that you've got now, as to how Move has, kind of helped bring the Constantinople vision to life?
Yeah. So what we're looking to do at Constantinople is run all of the, call it the undifferentiated or commoditized aspects of a bank and execute them at the direction of the bank itself. And so that covers all technology and infrastructure, all product, all operations, all compliance, reg reporting. So it really is a very broad scope. And the mission of our company is to manage all of that well, using software and AI predominantly for a fraction of the costs of what it would ordinarily cost for a bank to run. And in doing so, free up the bank to really focus on what differentiates it in market, whether that be its purpose or its customers or community. That was really the vision that we had when we started. And Mike was and Move Bank was the first bank that partnered with us to shift its entire business across onto Constantinople. So not just a part of its business, but the entire bank.
Yeah.
And I think we're now right on the precipice of demonstrating what I think is the most complete transformation of a bank anywhere in the world in so short a time.
Yeah. Which is the import of what you've just said there, Mac. I think is why I wanted you on the show. So I think a lot of people that aren't in the industry would see this and go, "Yeah." To me, this is a significant moment in time. I do have a question for you, though, Mike. Given the horror stories that we've seen around technology implementations in banking over the last 20, 30 years, are you crazy or the most courageous bank CEO I've ever met in my life?
Maybe the most clueless in my life. So, I have long been a subscriber to the CEO killer. Don't get involved in core banking transformation projects because they, inevitably the CEO never ends up working there. Look, this was different in that we didn't set out looking for a core banking replacement. As Mac said, Constantinople's proposition is unique, and it was unique back when I started talking to them. We had the same sort of strategy gap that all of the smaller customer-owned banks have, in that we're looking for the ubiquitous sustainable growth to some sort of level of viability and scale. And that, certainly in our view, just changing out your core banking platform doesn't necessarily deliver that, and in a lot of cases it does actually either turn out bad, or even if you get there, you've still got a long road ahead to get there. So I'd known of Constantinople through other avenues that I was involved in before I worked at Move Bank. Was aware of what Constantinople had been able to do with Great Southern Bank, and actually, it was just fate, really. Di happened to just ping me on LinkedIn one day, and luckily for Di, it must have been that one day in a 2-year block where I actually look at that stuff. But got back to Di, and I reckon a couple of weeks later we were down here
in workshops.
and ultimately I managed to bring the chairman of the board down with us, and as I told the story last night, like the model as Mac described, it isn't a thin banking platform. This is the platform that we will be running the whole bank on. But it's not. It's even bigger than that, because we are entering into a partnership with Mac and Di and all of their people here, and so I always had confidence in the unique nature of the proposition, but and the technology, as Max said, it's tier one technology that a small bank can get a hold of. But the biggest thing we needed to be comfortable with, I guess, was that it could be delivered, but also the people, because as of 2 weeks from now, they're basically, we're Mac and Di's partners, and vice versa, and we will be relying on Mac and Di's people to help us run the bank. So that cultural element and the quality of the people is probably just as important as the tech.
There's a reputational challenge, I think, for fintech, which some of it I think is its own doing, and others is, I think, maybe some mistakes that were made a long time ago, where there's been a lot of promises delivered, and the excitement of these new technologies that were just starting to become available, and the move to cloud, I think, and AI as well, a lot of promises that never lived up to expectations. When you were last on the show, Di, one of the things that really resonated with me was that you've been in those shoes before. And I wondered, Mike, how much of that gave you confidence?
It's a really good point, Dexter. So Mac and Di, as the founders and co-CEOs, are very credible people, as well as being good, decent people. And they have got very, very impressive careers behind them. What one of the I guess attractions is that they have been bankers, so they understand that side of the fence, as well as being able to provide the tech. So, that became a very easy conversation right at the start. I think we didn't have to, it wasn't as though Mac and Di had to try and prove themselves to us or prove that they can do what they were saying they were going to do. We knew that they had delivered similar sort of capability into a big bank previously. So, I had a high level of confidence in both the individuals and what they were proposing. So that it's probably counterintuitive, but that was a very easy sort of first hurdle to get over.
Yeah. One of the things that also strikes me when I look at this space is a lot of the people that are making promises are in the US or the UK with a delivery team in India.
Yeah.
I remember when I first walked into this office 2.5, 3 years ago, I think, and I was blown away by the energy. The place was full. It was kind of, particularly in 2023, it was something that you didn't see a lot of. How much of that, like having a domestic team, people that you can meet the people who are actually building the solution.
Yeah.
How much did that play into kind of, helping you make the call?
Yeah, it's a really good point. And the second meeting that we had here, and I did bring the chairman of the board down, and we were in the boardroom, and Di and Mac and the team had gone to a lot of trouble to have a big PowerPoint presentation and all that sort of stuff, which I just wasn't really interested in, but we were polite. But the good thing that they did was roll through a lot of their staff into the meeting, and they were all very impressive, young, enthusiastic, polite people. But I reckon the moment that we were sold, one of the young fellas here, who was vertically challenged, plugged his phone into the screen and showed us a video of all of them out playing basketball before work. And this fellow was known as the Chihuahua because he used to get around at their ankles. But he's there with all the big, tall, good-looking blokes, and he's running rings around them on the strutting around like he's Michael Jordan. But to me and to my chairman, like, we still talk about that to this day, and that was as good a proof point as you get of the culture in the place. And from that time on, Di and Mac have been very open in allowing us access to anyone in the business here. And as time went on, it became clear as to the quality of the individuals and the collective culture. So that only built the trust and the confidence that we could do what we were going to do.
Yeah, it's as the more that I've spent in the customer-owned banking space, and we had Michelle Bagnall from Bank First on the show a few episodes ago, and the headline to that podcast was the original peer-to-peer lender because of how the bank started. And it really struck me that a lot of the origins of fintech and the origins of a lot of community banks are kind of bound by this same kind of entrepreneurial spirit, challenger mindset that, maybe as you ain't been getting the headlines and it's not the glitz and glamour that you get associated with fintech, but the spirit and the kind of cultures seem to be fairly compatible. What's been your kind of sense as to, I guess, one, how your cultures align, but then also what now working with Constantinople and the platform and the freedom, what does it help you to do to, really become a challenger brand in a very competitive space?
Yeah, so, and again, it's probably not something I've spent a lot of time thinking about, but we, from the day I started, I really believe in our company, our people, our purpose, and what we're trying to do, and it's not about being critical or derogatory towards the tools that we have to do what we do, but the guys do an absolutely awesome job to do what we do with what we have. And, in my eyes, the CEO's role is to try and make people's life better, both for our customers and the people who work there. And as I say, we weren't looking at this in terms of I need to go out and find some technology that all of a sudden makes us the Commonwealth Bank. But I do firmly believe that we can be one of, if not the best customer-owned bank in Australia. And when we started talking with Mac and Di and looking at what they offer, it was very clear that Constantinople was one of the pieces of the puzzle to help us get to where we were. And I was also very excited by what these guys were doing. Like it was then, and it still is, unique in what Mac and Di are offering, and the opportunity for us to be in there as an early adopter or a first adopter was fantastic. And one of the exciting bits is us getting the opportunity to grow with Constantinople. We will always be the first full bank that's gone on the platforms. This has been a true partnership. It's never been a customer-supplier relationship, and we haven't set out to have kumbaya meetings and hold hands and chant, but all of my team have become very close to Di and Mac's team, and that carries you a long way when things get tough. And it does come down to that culture, and it's not the three of us doing the doing. It's all of these people out here.
Yeah. So Mac, Di, how are the both of you feeling about Go Live?
Oh, super excited.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a go live, but for our company, it's, everyone is super excited about seeing Move in the market being successful. Our app designer, she's like, the app I've been working on is on the App Store.
Yeah.
Our payments guys are so excited that cards are in the hands of clients. Like, our lending team is just thrilled with what we've been able to achieve on our lending capabilities. The AI that we've incorporated into how we run the platform, and that will show up more and more over time. I think for us, it's just an exciting moment. And this is what makes your company. And so it's just tremendous.
And it was, the day I came down and you guys hadn't told your staff that we were setting the go live date. And I stood up in front of all the staff there and said, "Righto, good news, we're on." And I saw some of your engineers there going, and I mean that like, bring a tear to a glass. Would I? I'm not prone to crying all the time, but it does make you emotional seeing what it meant to all those guys. And it just, again, it shows the culture is in the right place to get us where we need to get to.
And I'm kind of curious for you, Mac and Di, as to, this is now year 3 of us documenting kind of the journey of Constantinople on the podcast. Where do you feel that you are on that journey, and what does this moment with Move mean for you?
Right.
I mean, I think, as you've said, I mean, generational companies take decades to build. I mean, Revolut's into its second decade, but even if you think of companies that we think of as really defining, of Tesla or SpaceX, these are companies that are getting close to 3 decades old. We still think of them as, right at the vanguard. Well, they are, of course, right at the vanguard of innovation, but you don't just wave a magic wand and build infrastructure, that can run, mission critical activities. It takes a long, long time. And so I think for Di and me, right from the outset, we had a clear vision, but we knew that this would take a long time. And what you set yourself for is trying to chip away at it, try to get, meet milestones. And so, I think Di would agree, I think Mike too, that, migrating Move, shifting an entire retail bank, and Move is small, but from a product breadth perspective, it looks like any universal bank. It's not super different from a NAB or a Westpac in terms of product complexity. To shift, the entire bank across to us, not just tech and product, but operations and compliance, everything.
Yeah.
To be able to shift cost to income down by probably 30%. This is an incredible and genuinely world first. Transformation, and so I think it is the biggest milestone for us.
I think that's the thing that was really struck me about what you were all saying last night was that this this significant moment, like what it means for all of these other banks.
I think that's right. I mean, just specifically on a migration, I think you have to have done one to realize that the number of customers being moved is not the relevant factor. It's the breadth and the complexity of what's being moved across. Once you've got that, scaling customer numbers is actually not the limiting factor. But I think what's important is that Move will be operating on a platform which is probably better than most tier one banks globally, and that's not necessarily a reflection on tier one banks. It's who spend an awful lot of money because they are managing a lot of complexity themselves. But when you build from scratch, you're able to put in place a platform which is both modern and really effective. And I think that was always our initial motivation, that that we could sort of level the playing field, as it were, and we could allow some of these smaller banks, we could give them access to tier one bank capability. We could give them access to what we call sort of synthetic scale. You sort of sometimes see in the industry, everyone sort of says, unless you've got 1 million customers, unless you've got 30 or 40 billion of assets, you're subscale and you don't have a right to exist as a bank. And therefore, everyone's strategy is, I have to find a merger partner. It's just merge. And I think what we're trying to say is, no, there is an alternative path. We can offer synthetic scale through a platform. You don't have to merge the underlying corporate entities or the license. You can get the benefits of running off a common platform.
We've seen the challenges as well of when you do merge, that brings on a whole stack more problems. Integration, bringing two different cultures together, systems integration, tech. It's not working out as well as people might hope. And you've been an M&A guy, right? Like you know that the synergies that you get, on the financial model versus when the transaction happens are two very different things. So I think that's a super important point that really, isn't out in market, isn't out in press, isn't out in media around how we're actually tackling this problem of scale.
Yeah, no, you go.
No, you go. No, I mean, I completely agree. I think that's sort of what we're unlocking here is the ability for that synthetic scale. And I think over the next couple of months, you'll see more and more of us talking about that and bringing that to life for people to really consider. You said it yourself, a merger definitely gives you a level of scale, but does it give you the cost efficiencies that you also need? And those cost efficiencies don't come from just a technology change. They come from an operating model change, which I think also needs to be considered when people are thinking about a merger. So really thinking about the breadth of what they could be doing and how to do those differently and more efficiently.
I used to say that Australian fintech was punching way above its weight, and without a doubt it was. The last few years, things have been really difficult. It's been very difficult to innovate for anybody because of the lack of capital and the challenges around that. I remember the first time you were on the show and we were celebrating a record seed round. And I think I walked away from that and said, the only way you're ever going to raise money here is if you're tackling a massively complex problem. That's your mode. And the second is it's global. We've just come from the World Credit Union Conference here in Sydney. I was amazed at the global representation that was there, probably a lot more than there was Australian representation. What kind of sense were you getting for the appetite of a Constantinople solution going global?
So a lot of inbound interest from the US, from the UK, from Europe. So, I think one of the things we can say about the Australian market, it's a really good test bed for new innovative capabilities and business models. It's sort of sophisticated customer, highly digitally literate customer base, sophisticated prudential regulator. I think Australia has sort of a natural advantage in some ways to innovating in the fintech space, and hopefully, within later this year, we'll be announcing, market entry into a range of other offshore markets.
I mean, the good thing is we're addressing a global problem. I mean, banking, as you know, it is pretty homogeneous across the world. So people do see that the traditional way of transforming a bank, the time it took, there needs to be a different option, and the platform approach which we offer and the comprehensive nature of the capability resonates.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about what we saw this week, the conversations we had, and more importantly, watch this space over the next 6 months, as Mac just said.
I would say the most important thing that it's to solve in banking is trying to get cost out. It's most banks around the world operate sort of, even large banks around 50% cost to income. There's a huge amount of inefficiency in the way that we manage banking globally. And, I think finding a way to get dramatic cost efficiencies and be able to pass those on to customers is really critical. And I think that's a big part of the innovation that we're trying to drive. Sometimes we talk to our own team about, an analogy with a company like SpaceX. SpaceX's rockets operate much like rockets did 50 years ago. I mean, the physics and the chemistry hasn't really changed. What SpaceX does incredibly is they've reduced the cost of sending rockets by, 70, 80, 90%. And that is a dramatic innovation within that space, even though the rocket itself is doing the same thing. And I think in banking, the Medicis were running banking in much the same way banking gets done today. You take deposits, you add a margin, you lend it out, you assess risk, try to get your money back. Like, those things haven't fundamentally changed, but perhaps our ability to do that much more cost effectively will change over time. So I think that's one big piece. I think the second piece is it's pretty clear the direction of travel with AI. I don't think it requires too much imagination to look 5 or 10 years out to see that we all manage our finances using agents that interact, themselves with the MCPs within a bank. And so that sort of age of autonomous banking, I don't think is too far away.
What are your thoughts, mate? What is having a technology like the one that you've got at your disposal now enable you and the team to really focus on?
Yeah, I think, the short-term horizon for us is making sure our existing customers are looked after through the transition, because we know they will then have such a better experience and the ability to bank in a simpler, sort of faster manner. I think one of the exciting things for us is that going to a cloud native AI enabled platform will enable us to be a little bit broader in our thinking in trying to solve customer problems. So, can't give names and all that sort of stuff because I'll breach an NDA for the second time today. But
we can edit it out, so don't worry, Mike.
We're in discussions with another fintech about entering into a partnership with them to help solve a problem that they have, but also something that will be fantastic for a segment of the population. And we're only able to be in that conversation because we are going to be on the Constantinople platform, and I can only see those opportunities multiplying from here. And it's about cost to income and all that sort of stuff, but ultimately, our role is to look after our customer base and help them thrive and solve their problems. And you said before, like, we seem to have been in this never-ending cost of living crisis, and people are looking for ways to do things better and make sure that they're financially better off, and that we take that seriously. And this partnership will put us right at the point end of being able to help.
And Di, what's your take on where you see things this next decade?
Oh, I think it's all around AI. I mean, like, if you think back to early 2000 when all these websites came out where you can compare where to get a mortgage, where to get a car. I mean, AI is you're going to have your agents making these decisions, determining where you can get better pricing, where can I get a customer experience that suits what I need. That's the direction that we're headed in, and we look to avail those to move and to make them more competitive, and then to other clients. But definitely agentic solutions, whether that's, as I said, in terms of selection of banking products, how you get a mortgage, how you look at managing your deposits, that's really where we're taking things.
Now, Mike, I don't want you to give away your competitive edge, but we do get a lot of banking execs listen to the show. What would be your words of advice to them if they're looking at a technology upgrade? And particularly with that, don't touch the core. It's a career killer kind of urban legend that goes around the space.
I think. I mean, my advice would be think of it from the strategy and the customer first, and not necessarily become a technology shopper, because I've seen a lot of my peers sort of get sucked into this never-ending cycle of RFP after RFP for and nothing ever gets done. Obviously I'm on the journey I'm on, and I think we have made an absolutely fantastic investment in this partnership. And I would say to all my peers, I think you should be talking to these guys. I'm equally as confident that once we are there and they all see how well this is going, that they'll be knocking Mac and Di's doors down. But you also, and again, without wanting to sound self-serving, I knew going into this, when these things fail, the boards don't get sacked, the CEO gets sacked. So, I knew I was carrying all the downside risk without, there's no upside for me, but sometimes you have to do the right thing for the customers and your staff to get going. So, I would say to my peers, you need to start to look at things from that perspective.
Now, Mac, before we direct people to your beautiful new website where they can find out more information, what else would you guys like to add just in terms of the conversation about Move?
I mean, I come back to just partnership. I mean, you can have great technology and great capability, but it's really around how you come together to deliver that. And that's what's been so rewarding for us working with Move, and not just for Mac and I, but for our whole company. And so that is really fundamental part of our company is partnership. It's partnership with our clients. It's partnership together in the company. Partnership with people who support us. I think it's so critical to success.
Right, and Mac, as an ex-graphic designer, I've got to talk about your website. It is a work of art. It's beautiful.
It is very good.
Yeah.
I paid Dexter to ask.
Yeah, I
that
don't
question.
know. I'm serious, mate. I don't know.
It's stunning. Where can people find out more?
CXNPL.com.
Yeah, cxnpl.com. No, that is. So
It only took you 4 years.
So we had a philosophy. We had a philosophy for a long time that that things like a website and frankly and marketing and brand weren't really our focus.
Yeah.
Partly because we sort of what we'd seen with a lot of early stage companies is
4 different logos.
and there's a lot of
And
talk about what they're going to do. There's a lot of talk about things like capital raising. We always saw capital raising as just an input, but what we wanted to be known for were outputs. And so, for us, the reason why the migration onto our platform is the biggest moment in our company's history is because we're finally able to say we've done what we set out to do.
Yeah.
When we came on your show, 3 years ago, and we said this is our vision.
Yeah.
We haven't been out there saying it again and again and again.
We've done
it. We wanted to come back and say, well, we've done it.
Yeah.
And so, I think this now really shifts. This shifts our ability to sort of to use proof points.
Yeah.
And already we're seeing. Hopefully the banks that we sign in the latter half of this year are sort of, are sizable global banks now,
Yeah.
who have long said to us, I think that vision is amazing. Like something like this needs to exist in the industry, but can you actually build that?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can build that. So come back to me once Mike's risked his career to create a proof point. And so I think that's, as Di said, 5 banks now live. We should end this year with 10 banks. This is, we're in the UK 2 weeks ago and people were saying, I can't believe you have 5 banks live.
Yeah.
You only started 4 years ago. How did you do that?
Yeah.
And so I think, we're really excited about this milestone and what we can do for Move.
We want to be known for we do what we say.
Yeah.
Like we deliver.
And a beautiful website.
No, we did that too. But as Max said, we've taken a greenfield bank to market. We have a really exciting embedded proposition that we're powering, and now we have a retail bank. Look, like they're the 3 main pillars of the strategy that we wanted to undertake, and we've done it.
Well, as somebody in the industry, I talked about the import of this moment and this episode. And to use Mac's kind of SpaceX analogy, if I was to visualize what this moment means to me, it's like watching a video of the first SpaceX rocket going up and then coming back and having a successful landing. And to try and get that across without hubris or the usual bullshit that we've got going on in fintech, I think it's really difficult because people outside of the industry actually won't understand. I go, like, man, so what? But I think the moment definitely is not lost on me.
Thank you.
No, thanks, Dexter. I think it's hard. It is, I think it is. I think banking's one of those things that from the outside it looks reasonably simple and straightforward. Of course, and we saw this with a lot of our engineers when they first arrived into the company. They were like, "Oh, I think we can build all of this really quickly." But banking is much, much more complex than anyone appreciates from the outside. And so, for us to have delivered what we've done within 4 years, I think it's. I do think it is really significant, and hopefully what we can show with Move Bank is that you can fundamentally transform the entire operating model of your bank. You can put it on a more sustainable footing with better capabilities to give to your customers. You can dramatically reduce cost to income, free up capital to grow your balance sheet. These are I think this is a very different way to structure banking. I think I think if we looked out a decade ahead, there's no reason to think that a company like Constantinople can't be powering a very sizable portion of the global banking industry.
Mike, finally, before we wrap up, a lot of people that would be listening to this probably are looking for better banking experiences as well. If anybody wants to find out more about Move, where's the best place for them to head?
movebank.com.au, and they'll have all the best offers and the best people behind it as well.
And a beautiful new website.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, everyone, it's been fantastic to catch up with you. Congrats on, as I said before, a momentous moment. It's been special for me that you've invited me along to share it with you as well. And it's, really cool that I get to document the journey that you're on. 30 years from now, it's the next SpaceX.
Exactly. Well, thank you.
Great.
So really appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, cheers.
Thanks.
As always, folks, you can connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter. If you're new to the show, then make sure you follow us wherever you listen or watch podcasts. And if you're coming back, thanks so much for your support. It really does help me get great guests on, like Di, Mike, and Mac. Until the next episode, keep well. Thanks, everyone.
That's
That
great.
was great.
So you're
Thank you.
so good at it.
Yeah, you're so good.
You really are.
371 this was, so I should be getting better.